for me for the new year. So it's kind of exciting being here in the studio. And you know, this is going to be a wild month because it's going to be the New Hampshire primary. Can you believe it? The Iowa primary is going to be hitting the Taiwan elections that China says they're going to go to war with Taiwan. And they want to disannul the election result, no matter what it is. This month's going to be, we got the impeachment hearings with Biden. Oh my gosh. We got Fauci hearings also. It's going to be a wild, I'm just going down half the list of what's coming in the next 30 days. You can understand why, understandably, I'm looking at being emotionally, mentally, and physically ready for the Super Bowl. This is going to be the race of your life this year. This is going to be the most important year for America. And you're going to have a front row seat. And I know the audience out there, you're going to be in your state. You're going to do something that's going to make a massive difference. And you're going to need to have a peak physical energy, focus, clarity. Can't be triggered emotionally, can't be moody up and down. You have to be able to have great endurance, which is why I'm starting the year off in an unusual way with a conference that's focused with experts. I've got 8 speakers, each focusing on a different aspect of physical mastery, restoration of energy, strength, restoration of youth, areas of reverse potential aging of your body. These are the experts, and I'm doing it in 2 weeks. You can go to lancewallnau.com/summit. Now, many of you it's too late for you to be able to get into our exclusive group. We might have a few seats left, but I think we're almost maxed out. But we do have is a live stream ability. So I've been asking Mercedes about this. We're going to have 2 days with our 8 expert presenters providing like 16 hours of key content. What's more important than you reversing the aging process and having maximum physical capacity in this next year? And you know, I broke it out. It's only like $6 an hour to sit in these exclusive groups with the doctors and go through a 45-minute or 1-hour consultation and analysis strategy session. It's just $6 an hour, and you break it out. Get the live stream, and you can watch it on demand if you're too busy.
Plus our miracle services, those will also be streamed. That'll be Friday and Saturday night. And so I have like huge expectations for not just the content, right? Like my people destroyed for lack of knowledge. So we want you to get your missing keys, but also the encounter service at night. I really want people to tune in for that because God works all over the world. You don't have to be in the room to be ministered to by the Holy Spirit. So join us. Like Lance is saying, go to lancewallnau.com/summit and grab your live stream.
Grab your live stream and like and subscribe also, because we're battling the great tech monsters out there, but the tribe is overcoming. And by the way, I'm curious about something. If you want to be able to get access to my own personal prophetic views on what's coming up in the next year, I've got like 10 points that I'm carefully and cautiously refining because the left is going to come after me. Just in the comments, write, send it, send it, send it. And I'm going to do what I can for each of you to send you the 10 points that I see as being the things to look for in this coming year that I believe are prophetically significant. Okay, so with that thought in mind, let's get ready because today's going to be an extraordinary experience. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the Lance Wallnau Show, kicking off the beginning of the new year with a new tradition. Mercedes, what will that new tradition be this year?
The easy button.
The easy what?
The outrage button. Anytime you can easily be outraged.
The outrage button, pay attention. The outrage of the week. We're going to always, that sound is so annoying. Remember the old busy signal sound? All right, so this is going to be a year where there's going to be vast amounts of disinformation coming at you. And I'm going through it right now as I am doing the job for you that I must do. It's the first week of the new year. It is the first week of the new year. This is our first broadcast for RAV of the new year. That I got right. Real America's Voice. And shout out here to Rob Sig. And may this be a happy new year for all of our great content curators and creators on Real America's Voice. I'm hoping to get to know some of these other guys a little bit better this year. I know Charlie, I know Bannon, and some of the gals are really very sharp. We need to do some cross interviewing. Now, I want you to know that this first month is going to come out furiously. This month is going to be insane because you've got the impeachment hearings. You got the Fauci hearings. Believe it or not, we're not even talking about it, but you're going to start to probe into the Fauci stuff's coming in the first month. We have the New Hampshire primary. We have the Iowa primary. And in both cases, what's the story going to be? It's not going to be how Trump wins because he's going to win. It's going to be by how much less he won than they expected. Is his star falling? Are the walls closing in? Nikki Haley will be celebrating. She'll have 10% or 15 or 20%. The big threat because she's going to go from here to New Hampshire, like to Carolina. The only place she's going to do well, by the way. But they're going to work that because the Koch brothers have put $50 million into blowing her up they're trying to get her in there. Now, if I was really cynical, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm a Pentecostal, that I believe when I pray, God hears me, I think they want to bump off Donald Trump. You realize what a threat he is to the world order? It's like he's the frustration and the devil's agenda is the unpredictability of that guy Trump. If they could get rid of Trump, but put Nikki Haley in as a vice president candidate because they make the case that she's the strongest, asset that he's got in terms of trying to wrap up his campaign and put this team together so that he goes into the Oval Office, then they could get rid of Trump and put Nikki in as president. That's how you got to think like this was organized crime because that's what the ruling class elites are. They're a bunch of criminals, and that's how they think. Just how much can they get away with in broad daylight? That's the thing. They can't afford to be too clear in what they're doing. But with Elon Musk is the big story this last year, and Tucker Carlson is the big story that tells me hope and help is on the way. God is causing the disinfectant of truth to come out there so that as long as we have a voice, as long as we have the truth, as long as we aren't shut down by the powers that want to silence us, as I've experienced on so many platforms being deplatformed. Well, if we can get the truth out there, then you're going to be able to fight the disinformation. I'm telling you, there's an ocean of disinformation. So the disinformation I want to prepare you for is Nikki Haley rising up. She's not. Just got a whole lot of money behind her because they want to park her with Trump so that they can move her into the White House.
So true.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I keep getting texts from her. I don't know if you get texts.
I get them all the time. And
I'm like, how did this happen?
I should cancel it.
They're like,
somebody put our phone number into her.
I would assume it's a Republican database we signed up for that now sold our data and we're getting texts from her.
Yeah. The useless Republican Party with Rona Romney.
McDaniel. Rona McDaniel.
McDonald. I can't remember. I blocked her out of my memory now.
You are so funny.
I blocked her out. I don't want to think about her.
You can't do names. Anyways, so I keep
useless in her job, but not as an individual. Priceless as a person, but useless as the head of the RNC. This month, look for the New Hampshire, Iowa, the Taiwan elections. You guys watching this at all? China is sharpening its chopsticks and going after Taiwan. You got Kim Jong-un, who is he's kind of like the mini-me for the communist principality over there. And so in China, and so he's threatening world war. He's always kind of manifest. He's always, the only guy he didn't pull this garbage with was who? Donald Trump. It's hilarious. Dennis Rodman's talking to him, and they're these friends with Kim Jong-un. And Rodman and him are talking. He said, hey, Trump's a good guy, man. I did The Apprentice with him. You need to talk to him. He becomes the back channel. Nobody wants to talk about this because it kills everybody's ego, from Trump to the State Department. But Dennis Rodman was one that set up the back channel for Trump to be able to talk with Kim Jong-un. And the two, then they start talking. Now, first, of course, Trump is insulting him because Kim Jong-un is threatening doing nuclear stuff. And Trump says, yeah, guess what? You want to do nuclear? I can do nuclear. You want that where you want to go? Yeah, you got a button in your desk. I got a bigger button. The difference is mine works. Remember that? Who knows? Hopefully we'll be friends someday. Hopefully we can be friends. You could just see an interpreter going up to the dictator that kills people and saying, what did he say? Well, he says, then they're trying to interpret what Trump's saying. You can see a smirk come over him because he understands he's not dealing with a typical politician. Trump gets out there, does a slide deck. You know the story, but I have to remind you because the press will never tell you the beautiful story about Donald Trump. He shows him a whole slide presentation of how he could be making money owning beachfront property and converting his country into a condominium, and where there'd be traffic from all over the world travel. You've got showing him how to put his country, how to entrepreneurially flip the country. China is telling him that North Korean president stir up trouble because they're saber rattling. They want Taiwan. They want to get that microchip. They want to get the $2 billion worth of economy. They want to get the microchip industry. They want to wrap their arms around it just like they did Hong Kong. Folks, in a spiritual way, I don't want to discourage you, but in a spiritual way, there are principalities and powers that rule the world. If you ever read Daniel, you'll see where Daniel has foresight into the future, and he sees the prince of Persia, which is over Babylon. He's wrestling in prayer, and he's wrestling for the sake of his people, the Jewish people in Israel. God's redemptive plan will come through that little nucleus of people. The Messiah will come through there. Jesus will come through there. So God has a redemptive plan, and right now Babylon has crushed the Jewish people. They've been the Jerusalem has been taken. Assyria has taken Israel, northern part of Israel. The Judea is now taken over by Babylon. Daniel's praying, and he gets a vision. He sees the principalities and powers of supernatural angels at work in the heavenly places. And the global ruling power then was Persia. But then the Lord says to him, he shows him Greece is coming. This is one of the proofs of the inspiration of the Bible, that Daniel predicts the next ruling power after he is gone will be Greece. He's literally predicting the emergence of Alexander the Great in 333 BC. And of course, Alexander does rise up, and he knocks off the third Darius in a classic land confrontation where his smaller size army beats the larger Persian army, and he takes over. Now it's Greece. And then after Greece, the Bible shows a succession of empires in Daniel. It's going to be, from Greece, it's going to go to Rome. And then from Rome, it's going to come down to 10 global powers that are ruling in the last days. And so we're heading now from the Roman period to the 10 ruling powers. The United States is on its descent as a ruling power. But what's coming up right now is China. And the reason I know that is because Trump lost the election, not because of election rigging, not because of ballot stuffing, but because of Wuhan. China was able to, by design or by the sheer mystery of lawlessness, which is what the Bible calls it, the powers of China were able to thwart the United States. Now, will America have a moment when it gets back on its feet? I know this is a narrative you don't hear typically talked about, but I approach this as a prophetic news analyst that gives me the ability to anticipate things before they're known, and I frequently don't get credit for it. It doesn't matter, but the whole Cyrus narrative that was so strong in moving some 30 million evangelicals to see Trump as a potentially biblical candidate in spite of the fact that he wasn't a saint running for office. That came from a handful of people, and I was at the forefront of that narrative. In 2015, I wrote, "This man is the modern-day Cyrus." I predicted the term Trump derangement. Trump uses it himself because of Trump derangement syndrome. I predicted the language in 2015 and wrote it. And when the election was lost in 2020, or taken, I should say, I saw the spirit of lawlessness, the spirit of Antichrist rising, and I saw China as having a hand in it by origin with the Wuhan, with the COVID virus and all that stuff, and how the ballot stuffing and how the election chicanery and all that came out of that. But I'm concerned that China right now, with its eye on Taiwan, is a bigger story than you think. It's already got Hong Kong, and we missed an opportunity to bring consequences to them when they took over that once democratically free Christian nation of Hong Kong. Boom, lost. It's taken over. It's an indication of what's coming. Keep an eye on Taiwan, and I'm praying that that God gives us an extension of grace because the dragon is emerging. Interesting that the dragon is the main figure in the book of Revelation, chapter 12. It's a global power, and the dragon is part of it. We're going to see all the fights that President Trump has had in Manhattan, in courtrooms. They're going to come to, they're converging together now to strip him of everything. His right to do business in New York. They're all coming together. They want to tie up his schedule so that he can't even show up for Super Tuesday. There's going to be the continuing battles over January 6th. But when we come back, I'm going to show you how the new year is going to play out in spite of those issues. We'll be right back. Do you know the Bible says that you can renew your youth like the eagle? Joel says that I'll restore to you the years. We don't even think about these promises much, but listen, when you get to my age, and like I'm 67 years old, you wouldn't know how to look at me, but I plan on running strong, and you know what? About 2 months ago, I started getting a text, a blitz of 4 friends of mine, my age group, who are all going in for emergency heart procedures. I said, hold it right there. Renewing our youth, longevity, strengthening our heart, finding out how to preemptively anticipate where physical infirmity would try to take us out. That's my priority. This year, I want you to join me. Go to lancewallnau.com/summit. I'm going to go to the beautiful Trump Doral in Florida, and I'm bringing experts with me. Dr. Jordan Rubin. I said, are there longevity secrets? He said, let me talk to you about collagen and intermittent fasting. I talked to Dr. Chancey Crandall. He said there is an extensive panel of tests that can be done that will preemptively anticipate where the enemy might want to take you out. And I looked at this list of geniuses we've got. Dr. Neil Goodman talks about the insights of reversing the brain fog, fatigue of long effects of COVID. And Christy Nickel, who's a young lady who is transforming bodies with fitness and weight loss. I can't go into all of it. We even have a miracle service. When they're done teaching, we're going to see God supernaturally restoring years. Go to lancewallnau.com/summit. I'm going there, and I'm looking forward to seeing you because this year is going to be a strong year. Start the year off smart at the summit.
Join Lance at the Health and Wellness Summit to discover secrets of longevity, strengthening your heart, and transforming your body. Go to lancewallnau.com/summit to reserve your spot now.
Let me give you an example as we come back to the Lance Wallnau Show and what I'm talking about regarding what's coming in the next year. Massive disinformation, and yet the spigots of truth are going to be open. You're going to have channels like Real America's Voice, channels like us. We'll be doing stuff with Flashpoint. My friend Mario Murillo's got a studio open up right now. Tucker Carlson, however, and Elon Musk are the big story, along with the taking out of McCarthy. These are the hopes, the signs of hope are here. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because when Fox News revealed just how I look at it like a spiritual warfare, how corrupt and powerful the pressure is from the CIA to the FBI to the NSA to the DOJ, all those 3-letter agencies that are occupied by the enemies of the people that think that they need to suppress you and control you through 2 ways. They'll utilize the apparatus of the FBI and the Department of Justice to criminalize you, to investigate you, to harass you, to shut you down, and then they'll utilize the media as an attack dog to embarrass, scold, deplatform, bankrupt. And so this is a very dangerous combination. But then when you have someone like Elon Musk comes along, and I have no sympathy with the Christians that are constantly trying to demonize him as some kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Elon has done something incredible in that he took the vehicle the CIA and the FBI and the intelligence community used to create false narratives with trending topics, and the trending narratives they use and to deplatform Trump, to pull him and his people's voice, to suppress our voice. I'm still suppressed. I'm not big enough, I guess, to get Elon's attention at this point, but I mean, I have had, when you've got 1 million followers on like a Facebook platform, or 100,000 on a platform, 200,000 on YouTube that get wiped out, and then 100,000 or something on Twitter, and you're only talking to 5 of them, somebody made a decision to suppress your content. Thank God for the platform you're talking to me on right now, and I'm talking to you on. If you can hear this at all, it shows that I'm not entirely silenced. But what I want to tell you is, Elon opened up an artery for truth to come out on. And so when Tucker Carlson got fired because Fox got rid of a voice that I'm telling you, the devil didn't want him speaking on that platform, he goes over and finds a home there, at least on X or Twitter, and can be speaking from there. He still doesn't have the reach that he had on Fox, but he's able to say what he wants to say without thinking twice about network policy, and that's important because I believe that tells me that the government is losing its ability to manipulate the narrative, but that doesn't mean they're not going to use the outlets they've got to totally destabilize the whole population, and I'm talking about inflaming. Remember George Floyd had everybody, in trauma and cities aflame, and nobody quite knew how to deal with it. And then comes COVID after that. I think the American people have become trauma savvy, and their BS meter is so sharp now that they're actually in a state of potential revolt against the elites. And that's both dangerous and hopeful. But then the manipulation of narratives is what you're going to have to watch for. Because if the intelligence agencies couldn't take Trump out, can you imagine how nervous they are about Trump getting in and coming back at them? How many of you look at Trump as a guy who's going to say, let's let bygones be bygones? I think he's going to shred the top of those bureaus to pieces, and they need it, and they're not going to let that happen. It's wild. We got a Kennedy running who is out there saying he believes his father and his uncle were targets of the intelligence community. And you got guys like that out there. This is going to be the wildest year. It's like the sky is falling. It's an unfortunate thing that every year we tend to wring out as much as we can about, the significance. I'm almost convicted when I think about we put energy on. Remember that awakening that was happening on that college campus?
Yeah,
is this a sign of revival? Where was that?
Asbury. I've
even forgotten the name. Note to self, when God shows up, don't shut it off. Think about the stupidity of that decision. I'm going to get some hate mail on this. I'm going to tell you right now. Asbury, if the supernatural shows up, don't be so capricious to say we have to get back to our schedule. Tucker Carlson wanted to go down and cover the story. Well, they decided it was probably not in the best interest. They were trying to preserve the purity of their... You're supposed to be creating a platform for the proclamation and demonstration of God, not curating and trying to hide it and then shut it down because it's interrupting the school schedule. Whatever the chemistry was that created that wonderful visitation, in the mystery of God, God allowed it to manifest at Asbury, and then in the folly of man, it was shut down. But my point is, I don't want to exaggerate progress where it isn't there and read into it hope that doesn't manifest. I want to be responsible this year for fighting along the lines we need to fight on, even if it results in the deplatforming and such.
Well, do you think you can really quench that when it's a real move of God? Do you think it can be quenched like that?
Sure, you can. The Apostle Paul had a real move of God going on in one of those cities, and that next Sunday he goes out, the next Sabbath he goes out to preach, and the whole city came out to hear, and then the rulers and the leaders were blaspheming and contradicting, and Paul said, fine, boom. And he shakes out his garments and he says, I'm free from the blood of all of you. Since you've rejected the message and judged yourself unworthy of eternal life, from now on, I'm going to the Gentiles. And then he turned and pivoted in that city to the Gentiles, meaning you don't want it. You don't want this message and movement of God. You can mess it up. I'm going to turn so may God take the next visitation someplace where they won't shut it down because it's interfering with the schedule. I'm in a rare mood today, people. I'm trying to start the year off right, but I'm telling you, I'm starting it off a little feisty. I sat up on New Year's Eve and I said, I'm going to be positive this year. I wrote positive proclamations all over my desk. Lance, be positive. Put your words in the direction of the things you want to see. Start saying, don't describe the problem, describe the solution. I wrote to myself.
And the mountain one. What was the mountain one?
Yes, Zerubbabel, Zerubbabel in the Bible, it says Zerubbabel in the book of Zechariah. You have to have a degree in theology like I've got to know that it's important to quote it's Zechariah. And Zerubbabel is right there, and he says, "Oh, thou great mountain, who are you? For Zerubbabel, you shall become a plain with shouts of grace, grace. The capstone shall come." Capstone is the top stone. This top stone is Jesus. It's Jesus coming down as an authority on the earth, which leads us to Christian nationalism, a subject I will not get into at the moment.
Oh, you didn't finish the thought, though.
Huh?
You didn't do the saying. The saying is what was it? Don't complain about the mountain, but speak to the mountain.
That's right. Don't talk about the mountain. Talk to the mountain. Don't talk about the problem. Speak to the problem. And so I suppose I could say, in this year, I'm speaking to the Spirit of the United States. You shall revive. The people shall rise up. There shall be awakening that shall not be quenched and not be stopped. And the fire that God starts will not be put out, because God has a people that are ready for this move of God.
Ooh, I like that a lot better that was much better.
Well, I'm going to have to practice this, people. I have to practice this.
It was edifying.
It's not easy. I mean, only we can do it. I don't expect Jack Posobiec to break out into a prophetic utterance, even though he's a good Catholic. He's not going to start prophesying the breakthrough.
That'd be crazy.
But we can begin to decree what we want. Let me go back over here. I want to keep covering this. I believe that the Spirit of God is contending as God's people engage. As you work, the Spirit of God will go to work. I almost want to tell you the story about Joey Perez, my evangelist buddy. I used to do meetings down in the streets of Philadelphia on Diamond Street. Dangerous part of town. But for some reason, I always felt safe there. Joey was a former gang leader and a preacher. We go down there, and I had a keyboard, and I play music, get a crowd, and then he'd come out and preach in my younger days. And I asked him, I said, "Joey, you've had some experiences with God, obviously from your gang life, your drug deals and stuff like that. You had a pretty serious encounter," because he was apprehended by God on his way to kill someone. And that was when he became a Christian. So he has a rather dramatic story. I only got 1 minute and 50 seconds. Let's see if I can tell you what it is. He said, "Brother Lance, I was going down Diamond Street, and I was walking down, and suddenly I stepped in the Spirit, and I saw demons all over the street." He said, "And then I saw there was an angel up around my shoulder, standing up over me. And I took a step forward, and that angel took a sword out, and when that sword came down, suddenly, boom, all these bats and these dark objects went flying off the people. And people kind of blinked their eyes like they were coming into clarity for a moment. And I said to him, "Do that again," I said to the angel. And the angel said to me, "Young man, the way that you walk is the way that I walk. The way that you talk is the way that I act. When you stop talking, when you stop believing, when you stop speaking, I stop and wait till you start." And he said, "Well, why don't you come down here and walk with me instead of above me?" Then the angel said, "Because my battle is in the heavenlies in the spirit realm. Your battle is on the earth. You're the one that walks by faith, and I'll take care of things in the area you cannot see." Boom! And then the angel disappeared. I believe that summarized in 1 minute a theology that is real. And that is that the way that you walk determines what God does. And the way that you talk, you don't want to authorize the wrong things coming out of your mouth, because out of your heart, you authorize things with your mouth. And I want to speak that America shall come through this crisis. It's going to be like Rocky II. Remember at the end of Rocky II, both Apollo Creed and Rocky were both knocked each other out. But the first one to get to their feet won the fight. This year is going to be a knockdown, drag-out battle for America. Well, I cannot believe the time has already flown, Mercedes. It's already the end of this particular broadcast. But as you could tell, I was queuing up some things I want to talk about in the next broadcast. So you don't want to miss tomorrow, because we're going to be going into some downloads I got in the beginning of the year. It's the one time when I kind of get a celestial map, so to speak, of some important coordinates that are going to be predictive about the year to come. We're going to be covering that again tomorrow. And for now, this is Lance Wallnau and Mercedes Sparks wishing you a happy new year. God bless you.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends. Because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.